Beneath the towering shadows of the Himalayas, in a land known as the roof of the world, a hidden story sleeps quietly in the blood of its people. Nepal, a country often celebrated for its mountains, monasteries, and myths, is now at the center of a revelation that is rewriting the history of human origins. For centuries, the people of Nepal have lived with a sense of mystery surrounding who they are and where they came from. Legends spoke of gods who walked the earth, of sages who meditated in caves older than memory, of kings who claimed descent from celestial beings. But science has now pierced the veil of myth, and what it has uncovered is more astonishing, more complex, and more humbling than anyone could have imagined. Recent DNA studies have peeled back layers of history buried deep within the genes of Nepali people. And what they reveal is not a single origin, not a straightforward story, but a mosaic, a convergence of ancient lineages that stretch from the icy steppes of Central Asia to the fertile plains of the Ganges, from the high plateaus of Tibet to the forgotten corridors where Neanderthals once walked. This isn't just a tale of ancestry. It is a story of survival, migration, and the quiet footprints left behind by those who came before us. Imagine it. Thousands of years ago, long before kingdoms rose or borders were drawn, waves of ancient humans trekked through mountains that scraped the sky. Some came seeking fertile land, others escaping harsh winters, and some, perhaps, simply wandering. They left no written records, no monuments, no temples to speak for them. But in the living DNA of Nepali people, their story remains. And here lies the twist. The genetic revelations don't just tell us who the Nepali people are. They also hint at connections to some of the earliest chapters of humanity itself. Fragments of Neanderthal DNA, traces of forgotten civilizations, and genetic signatures that don't neatly belong to any known group, all locked inside the double helix, waiting to be decoded. For decades, historians debated, was Nepal primarily shaped by the Indo-Aryans moving north, or by the Tibetans moving south? Was its culture an offshoot of India, or a sibling of Tibet? The truth, as it turns out, is far richer, far deeper, and far more mysterious. Because the DNA doesn't just tell us about migrations, it tells us about a crossroads of civilization, where east met west, where the high plateau kissed the lush lowlands, where ancient humanity itself may have paused on its great journey across the earth. So tonight, we peel back the curtain. We follow the scientists, the geneticists, and the explorers who are unlocking the code of Nepali DNA. We trace the footsteps of ancestors who walked these lands tens of thousands of years ago. And we uncover a story that may forever change how we see Nepal, Asia, and the origins of us all. This is not just history. This is the diary written in our blood. This is the story of Nepal's DNA.
Long before the modern nation of Nepal existed, the valleys and ridges of the Himalayas were alive with whispers of myth and movement. In the chronicles of old, the Kathmandu Valley was said to be a vast lake, drained by the sword of a saint to make way for civilization. The Newars tell stories of divine architects shaping their cities, while the Highland Sherpas recall ancestors who walked with spirits across frozen landscapes. For centuries, these legends stood as the only guide to origins. But now, the genetic code has begun to speak, and what it reveals both confirms and complicates those ancient tales. Archaeology shows that Nepal was never isolated. Its strategic position, wedged between the Tibetan Plateau to the north and the fertile Gangetic Plains to the south, made it a natural crossroads. And DNA tells us the same. The people here carry markers from both worlds. Tibetans adapted to high altitudes with genes that allow their blood to thrive on thin air, share ancestry with Nepali highlanders. These adaptations, found in genes like EPAS1, are not just survival tricks. They are living signatures of migrations that took place thousands of years ago. Meanwhile, in the southern lowlands, markers of Indo-Aryan lineages appear. Traces of ancient farmers, priests, and traders who moved upward from the plains of India. Yet the story doesn't stop there. Beyond the obvious neighbors, the genes whisper of deeper, older currents. From Central Asia, echoes of nomadic steppe people left their imprint. Caravans, warriors, and wanderers. Some may have passed through on their way east. Some may have stayed. From Southeast Asia, faint but undeniable genetic threads appear, hinting that human movement was far more fluid than borders or mountains would suggest. And in the background, older still, lies a ghostly presence, Neanderthal DNA. Though long extinct, their genetic fingerprints remain in small fragments within every Nepali genome, connecting these mountain dwellers not only to their regional neighbors, but to the deep, shared ancestry of all humanity. Think of it, each person in Nepal carries within them a living museum, a tapestry woven from migrations, encounters, and unions that took place across tens of thousands of years. No one story can define them, because their DNA is a chorus of stories, some harmonious, some discordant, but all necessary to the symphony of identity. And here lies the true wonder. While kings and chronicles sought to define origins in neat lines, Aryan, Tibetan, indigenous, the DNA refuses to obey. It tells us that identity is not a straight river, but a braided one, flowing with countless tributaries, the Sherpa of the high passes, the Newar of the valley, the Tharu of the Terai, each distinct, yet each holding fragments of a shared human past. It is almost poetic. The mountains that rise to the sky, often thought of as barriers, were in truth bridges. They did not seal Nepal off from the world. They connected it, and every footstep that crossed them left a genetic echo still carried today. So when we ask, where did the Nepali people come from? The answer is both everywhere and here. They are children of the plains and the plateaus, of the steppes and the jungles, of myth and migration. They are, in a sense, a living map of humanity itself. And this tapestry, ancient, complex, and beautiful, sets the stage for the deeper revelations yet to come. Because DNA doesn't only tell us who came to Nepal, it tells us when, how, and in some cases, it even uncovers ancestors we thought had been lost forever.
When scientists first began sampling DNA from communities across Nepal, they expected a simple pattern, perhaps a split between those of Tibetan origin in the north and those from Indo-Aryan descent in the south. What they found instead was a kaleidoscope of lineages, a genetic puzzle more intricate than any historian had imagined. The Himalayan highlanders, Sherpas, Tamangs, Gurungs, carried the unmistakable genetic adaptations of Tibetans. Their blood tells a story of survival at altitudes where oxygen thins to a whisper. Unlike most humans, their bodies don't produce excessive red blood cells, which can clog and strain the heart at high elevations. Instead, they inherited a genetic gift, a mutation in the EPAS1 gene, passed down from an ancient human cousin, the Denisovans. Yes, hidden in the DNA of Nepali highlanders is a fragment of a species long gone. The Denisovans, shadowy relatives of the Neanderthals, left behind little more than a few bones in Siberian caves. Yet their genes endure, living quietly in the lungs and blood of people who call the Himalayas home. Without them, survival at such altitudes might have been impossible. But this was only the beginning. Further south, DNA told another tale. The people of the Terai lowlands showed clear markers of Indo-Aryan ancestry, but laced within them were signals from even older populations, hunter-gatherers who roamed South Asia before agriculture, before kingdoms, before history itself. Their presence, faint but undeniable, is a reminder that civilizations are not built on new arrivals alone, but on the deep roots of those who came first. And then, the Central Asian connection emerged. Lineages traced back to the windswept steppes, the same vast plains where horses were first tamed, and where waves of nomads once thundered across Eurasia. Some of these steppe signatures overlap with the same genetic patterns seen in ancient Indo-Europeans, suggesting that Nepal was not just a quiet corner of Asia, but part of the great human movements that reshaped the continent. Perhaps most astonishing of all were the anomalies. Genetic markers appeared that did not match Tibet, India, or Central Asia neatly. Stray signatures hinted at Southeast Asian influences, as though ancient travelers had crossed jungles and rivers to leave their quiet mark on the Himalayan mosaic. Others were harder still to place, fragments of DNA that seemed like echoes of forgotten peoples, lineages erased from history but remembered by the genome. It is here that science begins to sound almost mystical. For within the spirals of DNA, we are not just reading biology. We are reading memory. We are glimpsing lives lived and lost thousands of years ago. Migrations undertaken in desperation or hope. Unions formed across cultures and landscapes. The more they looked, the clearer it became. Nepal was not shaped by one wave of migration, but by many. It was not a land of isolated tribes, but a living bridge where worlds collided. Its people carry within them the footprints of Denisovans, Neanderthals, Indo-Aryan farmers, Tibetan herders, Central Asian nomads, and Southeast Asian wanderers. Each gene is a thread, and together they weave a fabric unlike any other. And yet DNA tells us more than where people came from. It hints at when. Some genetic lineages trace back tens of thousands of years, suggesting Nepal was inhabited even during the Ice Age, when glaciers carved the mountains and survival demanded resilience. Others point to more recent arrivals, the spread of agriculture, the rise of trade along the Silk Road, the blending of cultures in medieval kingdoms. Nepal's DNA is not just a record of origins, it is a timeline of humanity itself. And now, with every new discovery, scientists are beginning to realize this small mountain nation may hold keys to understanding not only Asia, but the human journey as a whole.
DNA is not only about bloodlines. It is about identity, about what it means to be human and what it means to belong. And in Nepal, the revelations of genetics have begun to reshape how people see themselves, not just as descendants of one lineage, but as heirs to many. For centuries, Nepal's history was told through kingdoms and dynasties. The Lichavis, the Mallas, the Shah kings. Each era left behind temples, palaces, and chronicles written by scribes. But those records only stretch back 1,000 years or so. Before that, history dissolves into silence. The DNA, however, fills the gap. It whispers of ancestors who hunted wild animals along Himalayan ridges before agriculture. It reveals ancient farmers who planted rice in the valleys long before written language. It recalls the nomads of the steppe, who may have carried with them not just livestock and trade goods, but stories, rituals, and songs that would eventually take root in Nepali soil. What is striking is not just the diversity of these ancestors, but their resilience. To live in Nepal was never easy. The high mountains demanded adaptations of the body, the lowlands demanded resilience against disease, and the valleys demanded cooperation between cultures. Those who survived were not the strongest alone, but those who could adapt, physically, culturally, and spiritually. And perhaps that explains the richness of Nepal's culture today. From the chants of Buddhist monks in highland monasteries, to the intricate festivals of the Kathmandu Valley, from the animistic traditions of the Rai and Limbu, to the Hindu epics performed in the Terai, Nepal is a tapestry of belief and ritual. Different origins, different gods, different tongues, yet woven together into one cultural fabric. The DNA discoveries reveal why this is so. The people of Nepal are not a single tribe, but a living crossroad of humanity. Their very existence is proof that civilizations are not pure, but blended, not isolated, but interconnected. And yet the science does more than confirm the diversity of the present. It also hints at civilizations forgotten. Certain genetic signatures appear in Nepali DNA that no longer exist in their pure form anywhere else. They are like the fading echoes of peoples whose names are lost to history, tribes who may have thrived in the Himalayas for millennia, only to vanish, leaving behind no stone monuments, no myths, no scriptures. Only blood remembers them. In this sense, Nepali DNA is more than heritage. It is a vault of memory for humanity itself. Each genome is a living archive, storing fragments of stories too fragile to survive in books or ruins. And so, when a Sherpa climbs the slopes of Everest, when a Newar priest performs an ancient ritual, when a Tharu farmer tends to his field, they're not just continuing traditions. They are carrying forward the weight of countless ancestors, known and unknown, remembered and forgotten. It makes one wonder, how many more secrets still lie hidden? How many civilizations have risen and fallen in these mountains, their only legacy carried silently in the blood of those who remain? As the science advances, one thing becomes clear. Nepal is not merely a country squeezed between giants. It is a keeper of human history, a living museum, a bridge between the ancient and the modern, the remembered and the lost. And with every discovery, the story grows deeper, richer, and more extraordinary. In the end, the story of Nepali DNA is not just about genes or science. It is about humanity itself. It reminds us that we are not isolated, not divided by walls of race or culture, but connected through blood, through time, through memory. Within each Nepali heartbeat lies the rhythm of countless ancestors. The Denisovans, whispering their gift of survival in thin air. The Neanderthals, leaving fragments of resilience from a vanished world. The Indo-Aryans bringing language and ritual. The Tibetans, carrying wisdom from the roof of the world. The steppe nomads, the jungle wanderers, the forgotten tribes. All of them live on, here, in this land between mountains and plains. And perhaps that is Nepal's greatest truth. It is not merely a country between India and China. It is not merely a landscape of snow and stone. It is a mirror of humanity. Proof that identity is never pure, but woven. Proof that survival depends not on separation, but on union. Proof that the human journey is not a straight line, but a tapestry. So the next time you hear the wind howl across the Himalayas, remember this. It is the same wind that carried your ancestors, the same breath that fills your lungs, the same story written in your DNA. This is not just Nepal's story. This is humanity's story. A story still unfolding. And this is the Diary of DNA. If you want to uncover more hidden histories, forgotten lineages, and the secrets our blood still whispers, subscribe now, because the next story isn't just untold, it's waiting for you.